Good afternoon, everybody. Today, Group 9 is going to explain about the material that some of you may be familiar with, that is compound and complex sentence. Stay tuned. Let's get started. This is the member of Group 9, Ariando Faranghardi, Yura Arsyauta Barat, Nas Atifan Ramalina, Janeta Azara, Elizabeth Kartika Noviastuti, and the last one is Marsiska Septi Kusumawardhan.
Now I will explain the definition of compound sentence and how to make it. Compound sentence is a sentence that connects two or more independent clauses, also known as simple sentences. Independent clauses are phrases that can stand alone as a complete thought. These independent clauses are independent upon one another to express a complete thought. Okay, so there is two ways to make a compound sentence. First, you can use a coordinating conjunction such as for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. You can sum them up into an acronym from voice to make it easier to remember. When you join two independent clauses with a coordinating conjunction, add a comma after the first independent clause to prevent a run-on sentence or confusingly long compound sentence. The other way to make compound sentence is by using a semicolon that functions as coordinating conjunctions, especially and, for, yet, and so.
Formula and example compound sentence. Number 1. Use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Sentence 1 plus comma, coordinating conjunction plus sentence 2. Example, everyone in my family was busy, comma, so I went to the cinema alone. Number 2. Use a semicolon. Sentence 1 plus semicolon to sentence 2. Example, the cat is very cute, semicolon, it's mine. Number 3. Use a semicolon and a conjunctive adverb. Sentence 1 plus semicolon plus conjunctive adverb, comma plus sentence 2. Example, you should attend to this class, semicolon, otherwise, comma, you can join the examination.
Okay, now we will learn about complex sentence. Complex sentence is a sentence made up of multiple clauses with one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. A complex sentence is often used for a longer sentences. Here are the things that we need to remember. A complex sentence has at least two parts. One that can stand alone, which is independent clause, and another one that cannot stand alone, which is dependent clause. The part that cannot stand alone is linked to the rest of the sentence by subordinating conjunctions, punctuation marks, and slash or relative pronouns. From here, we know that a complex sentence is actually not that complex as long as we can identify the difference between independent clause and dependent clause. Remember, independent clause can stand alone. It doesn't rely to any other clause to make sense. It is independent and works on its own. Meanwhile, dependent clause cannot stand alone. It needs additional information, which is independent clause, so that the sentence would be complete and make sense. These are the most common subordinating conjunctions used in complex sentence. There are after, although, as, because, before, how, if, once, since, then, that, though, till, until, when, where, whether, and while.
We might be wondering how our complex sentences are formed. The independent clause can come at the beginning, in the middle, or even at the end of the sentence. Because of this, there is not a set formula for a complex sentence. We form complex sentences by centering the sentence around the independent clause or the main clause and using independent clauses to add additional information that expands on what the main clause is stating. But remember, complex sentences can only have one independent clause, but multiple dependent clauses. Let me give you an example. Since we wanted to have fun, we went to San Juan yesterday. Let we dissect it one by one. Since sin is a subordinating conjunction, the next is we wanted to have fun. This is the part that cannot stand alone. And the next is we We is the subject for this sentence. When the next is went to San Juan yesterday is a predicate. Okay? I will give you another example so you can understand it better. The first one is I was angry with her because I was running late for work. 2. When she was younger, she believed in Santa. 3. Although my friend begged me, I didn't go to the party. 4. We didn't want to go outside while it was raining. 5. He returned the parcel after he realized it was damaged.
Compound complex sentence. Compound complex sentence is a type of sentence that contains at least 3 clauses, 2 independent clauses, and 1 or more dependent clauses. A compound complex sentence is a combination of a compound sentence and a complex sentence. Compound complex sentence help us to express longer, more complicated thoughts with more parts than other sentence. There are 3 components of a compound complex sentence. First is independent clause, second is dependent clause, third, conjunction. First is independent clause. The independent clause in a compound complex sentence are called coordinate clause because they are coordinated by a coordinating conjunction. An independent clause can always stand on its own as a complete sentence. That means it has a subject and a predicate. The subject will be a noun phrase and the predicate will be a verb phrase and describe the subject or what the subject is doing. Second is dependent clause. The dependent clause in compound complex sentence will not be complete sentence on their own. They are dependent on the other clause of the sentence because they not fully make sense without them or without other clause of the sentence. Third is conjunction. Conjunction are those little connecting words that can put different phrase and clause together into larger, more complex sentence. There are different types of conjunction that do different things, and there are more kinds of conjunction than these 2 conjunctions, but these are the most important ones for compound complex sentence. First is coordinating conjunction. Coordinating conjunction connects independent clause and other short phrase. There's 7 coordinating conjunction: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so, or can we remember it using acronym of fanboys. Second is supernating conjunction. Supernating conjunction is a word or phrase that links a dependent clause to an independent clause, and it would be useful in compound complex sentence. If, while, and though are the most common subordinating conjunction.
Compound complex sentence formula. First, subordinating conjunction plus dependent clause, comma, independent clause, comma, coordinating conjunction plus independent clause. Second formula, independent clause, comma, coordinating conjunction plus independent clause plus subordinating conjunction plus dependent clause. But there's another formula in this example. First, she must be at work early today because there is an important meeting today, but she is feeling sick. In this sentence, the formula is she must be at work early today as the first independent clause. Because there is an important meeting today becomes the dependent clause with subordinating conjunction because. And then there's but as coordinating conjunction. She is feeling sick as the second independent clause. The second example, he watched the movie since his brother recommended it, but he didn't really enjoy it. He watched the movie is the first independent clause. Since his brother recommended it, becomes the dependent clause with the subordinating conjunction since. But becomes a coordinating conjunction. He didn't really enjoy it becomes the second independent clause. Let's do some exercises. Determine the type of sentence below based on its structure. Number 1. This online game is so challenging, but I would like to complete it before the school bus arrives. A. Compound sentence. B. Compound complex sentence. C. Complex sentence. The answer is B. Compound complex sentence. Remember, compound complex sentence is the sentence that contains two independent clauses with at least one dependent clause. In this sentence, this online game is so challenging becomes the first independent clause, and there's a coordinating conjunction but, and I would like to complete it becomes the second independent clause. Before the school bus arrive becomes the dependent clause with subordinating conjunction.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. Determine the type of sentence below based on its structure. The sentence is, I'm happy to take your donation, semicolon. Any amount will be greatly appreciated. Is it A, a compound sentence, or B, compound complex sentence, or C, complex sentence? So, guess it. The answer is A, a compound sentence, because it uses a semicolon. I am happy to take your donation, semicolon. Any amount will be greatly appreciated. That's nice guess, everybody.
Determine the type of sentence below based on its structure. You will not get that souvenir unless you compare it to the similar. A. Compound sentence. B. Complex sentence. C. Compound complex sentence. The answer is C. Complex sentence. Thank you for watching our video and goodbye.